It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you. Because that's New Orleans, and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar today, we're at the fabulous Wayfare on Ferret Street, which is handily right across the street from the European Wax Center. I don't know if you're aware of that, Andrew, but...
I thought you were joking, and then I turned around.
They just moved in, I guess, the European Wax Center. I'm not sure what differentiates European waxing from American waxing. I think they're where you go to get your pubic hair waxed off, as far as
no, it's going to be
it's going to be
celebrities.
Like it's a wax museum?
No, I'm kidding.
What do you think it is? Kathryn is here. Kathryn Rose Wood. Is that correct? Your whole name?
Right.
What sort of name do I call you? The whole thing, Kathryn Rose Wood.
Kathryn works just fine. Yeah.
Do you use Rose as a sort of a?
It's my full name, and it just distinguishes, my
from
musical
the other
persona
from the other Woods.
My normal self. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. There's a few Kathryn Woods with the same spelling out in the world.
Oh, I bet there are. Kathryn, you're a singer-songwriter, so when you stick Rose in there, that differentiates you from
right.
the
and establishes that I am a
musicians.
separate Kathryn Rose Wood
right.
from other Kathryn
And
Woods.
you remind me a lot of Noell Eanes, who's got love in the middle of her name. Is that your real name?
No.
Yep, come right in here.
Okay. Is that better?
That's
better.
nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, actually, Love is not my real name.
So how did love find its way into your name here?
Well, it's funny. It became...
It better be.
It was a fake Facebook last name because I wanted to remain anonymous.
Why?
Because people are saying that people are creepy and you should not use your real name.
People are saying
One of my friends years and years ago told me that I should not use my real name. And so I thought, if I'm going to put an alias, I better use something I actually like and stand for, and love is something that's really important to me. So,
do you only like love, or do you love love?
I know, right? It is the rule of my life. I try to make it the rule of my life as often as possible.
What are we talking
so
about?
I could
exactly?
you could say I love love.
What kind of love are we talking about?
This is getting deep already.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Physical love?
Are you guys ready for this? No, not physical love. It is nothing.
It's not whatsoever.
Well,
you got to rule it out.
No.
Totally.
Well, let's introduce Blaze first.
We'll get back to
but we're not going to let you off that for long.
It's been an hour on this.
This is Blaze Edwards, who's sitting right next to you.
Hello.
Hello, Blaze. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm well.
Now, Blaze is a photographer.
I am a photographer.
Yeah, so now we have a photographer.
Et cetera.
Et cetera. What else does it say here? It says Blaze is a photographer and videographer.
Hold on. Don't read the bio, though.
What?
Don't read the bio. Don't read it verbatim.
Okay. I'll try and make it sound like I'm... Just
like
casually.
You know me. Like you know me.
Yeah, Blaze and I went to school together. And
many moons ago.
Blaze has always been a photographer, a videographer, and a digital media designer.
Cool.
Did you know that, you guys?
Didn't know that.
Now you know.
What school did we go to?
Well, we talk about New Orleans school as far as like high school or college.
I guess
because
if
in
we're
New
talking
Orleans,
New Orleans, we mean high school.
You mean high school?
Okay. What high school? What high school did we go to together?
We went to in the car Magnet on the West Bank.
Edna Carr, Magnet. All I know about them is when I see them in the Mardi Gras parade.
Exactly. I was in that band.
You were in the band.
Yes, I was in that
it's
band.
It's like a red costume.
Purple and gold, actually.
Purple? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
like LSU.
What did you play?
I played percussion. Yeah, I marched with cymbals. I started with the clarinet, so because it's that middle school, that elementary school, the first instrument you can either play a trumpet or a clarinet or a recorder or something crazy.
Right.
And so I chose the clarinet. So I marched on clarinet for a while, and then I moved over to percussion because I needed to get some of that energy out. Yeah.
I've always wondered what the headache factor must be if you're playing percussion in a band.
It's not your head that hurts. I would think it would be your hands more than anything.
Really,
but
smacking those cymbals.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't bang we don't bang our heads on the drums. We use our hands mostly.
But they walk past, when you're in the crowd or in the audience at a parade, and the noise of that percussion walking past me is like, oh my god!
I know. I think you're just old, actually.
Is that what
I think that's what it is.
It's the age is giving me.
It's the age.
And
you can't even hear that well, so I don't understand what you're hearing.
Right.
That's what I'm wondering.
I was about to say this.
So you never got a headache the whole time you were mom?
No. I was younger then.
Yeah, that's true. What are you wearing in your hand? That giant ring. What is that?
This pyramid.
It's a pyramid
with an eye.
It's an actual size, though. It looks like almost the size of Cheops. pyramid.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's a huge pyramid, yeah.
What do you do with that? You whack people in the face with it?
No. I think to some people it means different things. Like if I wear this ring around anyone who's a Mason or something like that, you know, when they see the eye, and it resonates
What do they do?
with
They
them.
freak out?
No, they wonder if
Well,
I'm
they
in
think
their
you're in
secret
it.
society. Yeah, exactly. They start doing the handshakes and the movements and
Did
stuff.
you find
Are
out?
you in their secret
No,
society?
I'm not in anyone's secret society.
What is the Masonic handshake? Did you happen to know that?
No, I don't know. I'm not a Mason, so
I thought someone might have done it on you by now.
no.
And you
I'm fine. I don't want to know because they might have to kill me. It's one of those.
Well, how do you know?
It's one of those cults.
It's something Dan Brown started.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know,
like
something.
I don't want to wind up in the river. You know,
What do you think?
swimming
that,
with the fishes.
What do you think that? Where did you get that ring from?
So the great thing is that I got it on the internet. It's a.
Heard of it.
I mean, you heard of it? Mm-hmm. It came out
It's a young thing.
around the time we were in school.
Yeah.
You know, got really popular.
Really popular.
Really
It's
popular.
It's still quite popular.
Yeah, it's even more
So you
popular.
just
It's
bought
evolved.
that sight unseen. Well, kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah. Kind
How
of.
did you know it was going to fit? Did they ask you for your ring
For
size?
your ring size, yeah.
What's your ring size?
You're getting very personal. I think it's like a 9.5. You know,
9.5. I
Yeah.
don't know what mine is. Do you know Noel? Do you know yours?
No, six
Catherine?
and a half, something like that.
I can. Let me see the
Yeah.
figures.
7.
Half, maybe.
I've never had
have tiny
anyone
hands.
ask me what my ring size is. Does she have tiny little hands?
She
Noel?
has tiny fingers. Look.
She's a professional
tiny
acupuncturist.
fingers.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a great mood ring.
This is not a mood ring. This is actually labradorite.
I'm
Oh,
just
let me see,
always
check it out.
depressed.
Isn't it cool? It's
Yeah.
a gemstone. Yeah.
It's a protective gemstone.
It is a
keeps
protective
it wards
gemstone.
negative energy.
It also activates your psychic powers.
There you go.
Did you know that?
I did know that.
If you
Actually, I have
were wearing
crystal in
one,
my
you'd know
hair.
that.
We could.
You have one in
look,
your hair.
I have another one here. This is called Shattucktite.
Shattuctite. Oh, hang on a second.
I have
I'm
rose
in the
quartz.
writing down. Hang on. How do you spell Shattuctite?
Oh man. Okay. It's. Are you serious?
Oh,
Okay.
yes, I am.
It's
I've got
S-
a pen right here.
It's SHA.
Yes.
Oh gosh, I hope I get this right. TT
T, 2 T's.
TTU
You. No.
KITE. Hold on.
Oh,
let me
come
Google.
on.
Let
That
me
would
Google
say
this.
Shattuctite.
Let me Google it.
Like shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah. It's called Shattuctite.
Yeah.
Does it
hold
grow
on.
in a cave? Like, you know,
Graham DePonte are producing those pretty much everything. Do you ever heard of Shattuctite?
like stalagmite.
No.
Stalactite.
man.
Bad news if Graham's never heard of it. That's
This is here. You go.
There it is.
There it is.
can you spell that for me?
Hold.
You were right,
It's
almost.
SHATTUCKITE. It's a mouthful.
Shattuckite, that says.
Yeah.
Shattucktite.
It doesn't have two
Shattuctite.
T's.
It does.
It's a double T. She was right on the
TITE.
Where is it? Oh, there's another T. Is that another T there?
Yeah.
Not only can I not see, but I can't hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, other way
You're
around.
doomed, man. You're
I
doomed.
know. I'm totally fucked. Shattuckite. And what does it do?
Well, let me read you since I just Googled it to spell
We
it.
might as well find out what it actually does.
Oh,
yeah,
look,
'cause I'm
it's
sure-
perfect because it
Yeah.
is the stone of communication.
Oh, it's helping.
It's perfect.
It's working out.
helping. It helps with the throat chakra, public speakers, attorneys, teachers. It also stimulates the third eye, greater intuition and oracle skills.
Andrew doesn't know what the third eye is.
Oh, it's right here.
Where?
So yeah, right
In
here,
your
between
middle
your
of your
two
two
eyes.
The
regular
people on the
eyes.
Right.
podcast can't see where you're pointing. You should probably tell us.
Sorry.
It's in the middle
Between
of
your
your
eyebrows.
forehead, in the middle of your other two eyes.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
like
had a
right-
third eye, it would be right
Exactly. Where the so actually this used to be where the pineal gland was.
there. At what point was this?
I don't know. In evolution,
Back
a
when-
long time
when we were
ago,
at
thousands
Edgehill,
of years ago,
magnet.
and then it receded back into our brain. But it actually used to be a sensory organ, and that's where it was.
Right.
Yes.
You don't really believe that, do you?
Yes, I do.
You do. Mm-hmm. We had
Things
organs
changed.
sticking out the front of our heads at some point,
To perceive,
and
yeah, we're-
everybody's went away.
Well, yeah, of course. Evolution changes a lot of things.
Okay.
Look, our little toe is getting smaller because we don't walk barefoot anymore, so it's not stimulated by the environment. That's what That's why we have sensory organs, is because things are stimulating us, and so we want to perceive them.
Well,
But
why
when we
would we-
stop using things, like a muscle, you stop using it, it
Right.
atrophies. and
Why would
goes
we?
away.
Why would we have all as a race or a people or whatever we are wanted to stop using the sensory abilities of our third
I don't
eye?
know. That's a good question.
That's actually
I don't
I knew
know.
that'd be a good question.
This is a
Eventually, I
great
told you.
question for a listener, do we get call-ins on this show?
Well, yes. You'd have to talk to Asher. Asher over there is in charge of that department. I don't know if anyone's going to
answer it.
If anyone can tell us why.
Answer the question. You can just be our Googler. You can just be our resident Googler and just feed us the answers.
Look up the pineal gland.
Yeah.
Third eye.
Pineal gland. That's Pineal.
There it is. Pineal.
Right.
Pineal gland. Yeah.
Or pineal.
You pronounce that?
Yeah. How do you pronounce it?
It's pineal.
It is pineal.
Now, Blaze, how do you
Pineal.
know anything about this kind of stuff?
Well, so pineal gland, we talk about that a lot, especially when you're doing things like Kemetic Yoga, and so
and the Freemasons.
Oh, and the Freemasons.
Yeah.
Well, the third eye.
What?
That's definitely.
What kind of yoga are we doing?
Kemetic.
How do you spell that?
Kemetic. Kemet used to be.
It's a good day for me.
Kemet used to be the name of Africa before it was known as Africa. So
Kemet.
Kemet. Yeah. So
and who called it Kemet?
Everyone did actually. So everyone who lived there in Africa.
Right.
But also that's what they were known as to people, in other countries as well. So Kemet.
The Kemets.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So Kemetic Yoga, when you look at hieroglyphs, those movements that they're doing in the actual hieroglyphs, those are some of the poses that are done in Kemetic Yoga. So like when you look at,
I want to do that.
Yeah. So like if you look at, so we'll say like Osiris and some of those other people, or Mayat. Mayat had the wings.
These are Egyptian gods you're talking about.
These are Egyptian gods.
How do we get from
Let me look
first?
this up.
I can look it up.
Because
Noel.
Egypt is in Africa.
Egypt is a part of Africa, right?
So it's in Africa.
But yoga did have nothing to do with Africa, as far as I know.
So as far as
Or
you
did
know,
it?
though.
Well, that's exactly what
but Africa is one of the oldest countries. Of course, things were created in Africa long
I thought
before.
yoga came from India.
So a form of yoga does come from India. So it comes
Okay.
from in India and Africa. So I just feel like there's a bunch of speculation about where things originated across the board for a lot of things, actually.
Right.
Exactly. So
Everybody thinks they invented everything.
Exactly. And so, and it's true. They did invent a form of it. So, I mean...
So there's a form of yoga that came from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it called? It wasn't called yoga, I suppose, was it?
No, it's called Kemetic Yoga.
Kemetic. It's got the word yoga in it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so how does it differ from Hatha yoga?
So the movements are different. So when you go to when you do different practices of yoga, the movements change depending on the type of yoga that you're doing.
Okay.
And so as Africans, we have different bone structure than Indians. Or people from India.
Hang on, I'm not an expert on evolution like Noel, but do we have different bone structure, really? Noel's an acupuncturist.
And therefore an expert in evolution.
And bone structure and bone
in the
density.
skeleton of the human body.
Well, what I
imagine.
mean when I say structure, I mean density. It's a different. Yes,
that
density.
makes sense.
It's the density is different because the weather is different, the diet's different.
Again, it's the same idea that we react according to what we're exposed to in our environment.
Exactly.
That's the opposite of evolution, though. That's adaptation, isn't it?
It's a form of evolution.
I don't think it's opposite.
Yeah,
I think it is.
That's. I used to think. It took me until college until I had a professor to really explain to me that the giraffe's neck is long not because giraffes stretch their neck to get to the leaves, but because the short-necked giraffes died out, and it has nothing to do with the actual muscle atrophying, and then the baby's muscle will be weaker. That's not it. It's that if the animal's muscle atrophied, then it's weaker and less likely to procreate, and therefore eventually over generations and generations, the ones that had stronger muscles that were evolutionarily advantageous would proliferate
Right.
more.
Only the giraffes with long necks could eat.
Right.
And the other ones all died. That's
So
why
it was
giraffes
by
have long
chance,
necks, not because they're stretching their necks to get to the leaves.
It's by chance that the neck
That is
long.
the truth theory of evolution.
So that's a different
So what you're talking about is the theory of adaptation, which is
okay.
the opposite of the theory of evolution.
Well, opposite.
Is it?
No,
I
it's
don't
just
think
it's very different.
It's a different viewpoint, but I think that there are. I mean, it depends on what type of effects you're talking about. So, because you can change. I mean, I can't remember what animal it was. I feel like it was a mouse. If you keep them underground for a certain number of generations, then they'll start to be born blind because they're not exposed to light. So there is a certain amount of reaction to the environment that does change our sensory perception.
Well, that's obvious.
Definitely.
I mean,
yeah.
you can look at that with weather,
it could be both.
Like that's why we get redder.
Exactly.
Some people get redder in the sun, and,
right?
When
they're not exposed to sun, they don't need that much melanin.
Or
right.
exactly. Or just in the winter, certain people get lighter. Because the sun's not out.
These are traits, but are we saying that?
But you're still evolving, so I mean,
Yep.
Well,
no. I am not evolving.
You're adapting to the environment.
I mean, I'd like to evolve, but I can't. That's the thing. Evolution isn't. It doesn't exist within one generation. Evolution happens when I am either able to procreate or not procreate with the rest of my gene pool. So
it's about mutations.
It's about mutations, right?
I mean, that's one way to look at evolution. I mean,
I think
evolving.
that is evolution.
There's only one way.
But you also can evolve as a person, right?
Like that's different.
Okay,
it's still. But that's what I'm saying. That's a different.
That's something that we've invented in the 20th century or the 21st century to talk about how we are improving as humans.
Right, but it's still a form of evolution, is what I'm saying. I don't mean evolution.
Well,
evolution as a species. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about individual.
We're talking about Darwinian evolution. Then we don't do that. But I hear you when you say like we're using the word more loosely these days. But isn't that aren't we talking about adaptation in that case? We're talking about adapting in our life, in our lifespan, right? But that's not Darwinian evolution.
Technically.
Right.
I believe
that's the case. But you can evolve as a human, though, is what you're talking about, Blaze, which is get better and more sensitive and a nicer person.
Simply.
Like, when
love.
I think we're arguing about labels instead of just acknowledging what's true.
Right.
Well,
and so,
okay.
Like,
there we go.
But I really think it's like
yoga.
keep it simple. Keep it simple. And the fact is that the more you use something, the more you will develop. Like, if you don't use something, then it will atrophy.
Okay, so
like
right.
Yes.
When
or if you're not exposed to something, then you don't perceive it. Then you wouldn't need the sensory organ to.
If you don't use, you lose it.
Like, okay, for instance, like. I have a feeling that you're down with this idea. I have a lot of friends who are psychic, mediums, or yes, and they absolutely. I have a
Do
friend.
they all know
I have a
that
friend
each other
who
is psychic?
No, they don't. They're very different people from it. You would be surprised.
Do they know each other, or you're just friends?
Some of them do. Some of them do. I work with a couple of witches, actually.
I work with a couple of witches, actually. Another good sentence for me to write down. Who are they, the two witches you work with?
Oh, the two
are
witches.
Are they a couple?
They are kind of
They're
a couple.
of witches.
They're a couple of witches.
They're a couple.
They're
both witches.
They call themselves witches playfully.
Are they a couple, first of all?
They're two women.
Two women.
They are very good friends.
Yeah.
They have referred to themselves as soulmates. However, I don't think they are romantic, that I know.
That's real.
They're Sheena Menina and Amberly Carter. I work with them. They're called the Basic Witches. They're now
the Basic Witches.
The Basic Witches. Yeah.
Why are they basic? What'd you say their names are again?
Sheena Menina.
Sheena Menina.
That's her real name?
That's her real name. She has a podcast, actually, and in the introduction of her podcast, which is done by Amberly, they say that is her real name because it
Sheena Menina is
Sheena
her
Menina is
and the
her
other
real
one's
name.
called Amberly something.
Amberly Carter, yeah.
Amberly Carter. Mm-hmm. It's almost impossibly good, isn't it?
That's a great name.
Right?
Both of them are great, aren't they?
They are.
Sheena Menina and Amberly Carter, the witches.
Yes,
and
the Basic Witches.
And you're an acupuncturist. What do you have to do with acupuncture?
Or I work with them at Raw Republic. So Sheena owns Raw Republic.
Sheena Menina
yes, you met Sheena. Yeah, it's a juice spot upstairs.
She's the woman I bought the shots of ginger off. I love her.
Yes.
Oh, that's
I didn't know
wonderful.
she was a witch. Did she put a curse on there?
She just started. So basically, they both do energy work. I mean, I do energy work too. I don't call myself a witch. They started. They started doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And then over the course of the podcast, they were like, let's call ourselves something. Okay, witches. And then they decided to call each other Basic Witches.
Dude.
And it's taken off. They're
Andrew
now
and I
doing
started
this
a
thing.
podcast.
Yeah.
We've been calling it Happy Hour, but why don't we call ourselves Warlocks?
All right. From now
you have to be more enthusiastic. I bet Amberly was more enthusiastic when she was sick.
My mind's going around with the rebranding plan. I'm just thinking about it. You know?
Okay.
Warlocks is good. The logo is going to be killer.
So they weren't really witches. They just made it up on a podcast, is what you're saying.
Right. They're basically, they're kind of, they're trying to legitimize. Okay, I'm not going to speak for them. I think that they're having fun with the idea of energy work. And I can say that they're both very talented energy healers, I can, Sheena has worked on me before where she'll be across a room and I can feel her. I can feel her working on me. So it's, it's amazing. So I guess the whole point I'm trying to say, though, is that their abilities developed, first of all, because they were open to the possibility of it happening, even though most people don't acknowledge that it's possible. So they're open.
So
and they set the intention. Yeah. Right, they suspend belief. They set the intention of this being possible, first of all, and then they're open to the impressions that come to them, and it's incredible the kind of things that have unfolded that I've heard.
Okay.
So, and that there's no other way.
What kind of things are you talking about?
Okay, so
could they be delusional? Or could they have this?
They're tuning into something. They're tuning into something.
Right, but could it all be in their
confirmation
heads?
Bias?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I've had. Okay.
Okay, so what?
Let me talk about my own. I don't want to talk about something that is sort of out of. I shouldn't be speaking about, but I can just say.
What are you drinking? After another one of those, you might be fine. What
I know,
is
right? I'm getting kind of nervous. I don't want to talk about someone's personal information. I want to talk about me and my experience, right?
Okay, let's talk about love. Well, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about you. Let's talk to Kathryn. All right.
Kathryn has been so
and then
quiet.
We're coming back.
I'm just taking it all in.
After we talk to you, Kathryn, I'm coming back to talk about this Instagram post of yours that I just saw today before we came here, Noelle.
Okay.
Because I've got a lot of questions about that, actually.
That's a long post.
I
guess
really
Instagram doesn't have a limit.
Very interesting. It's in big print, though. That's how we do it when we're warlocks.
Right.
We print out stuff and it comes out big.
Yep.
And bold. I don't know why it did that on my printer, but anyway. So, Kathryn, you want to talk about you?
Oh, God. I guess so, yeah.
Are you a witch or warlock, or do you have any sort of energy experience?
No,
Can you move
I
things
don't.
across the table just by thinking?
That would be fantastic, but no, I don't have any special powers.
Working on
I don't think I do, aside from being a musician.
Now, you've been on our show before because you played in a band called Social Set. That's what you were on
it
last time you were.
like 4 years ago almost to the day, yeah.
I can't believe we've been doing this for that long.
I know, that was at Casa Borrega. The restaurant wasn't even ready. They were still
It wasn't even open.
Renovating,
Now it's too hip for us to be there.
I know.
We're not hip enough to be at Casa Borrega anymore.
I suppose so, but Wayfare has equally good food, so you've worked it all out.
We love it here. So I remember that you were a clinical musical therapist back then.
I still am. Yeah, I've been practicing
You're still doing that? So you're kind of a healer as well. We're all healers here.
Yeah, in a different way.
Some scientific, some... Well,
less.
I want to talk more.
So... What is musical therapy? You were working with autistic kids, as I remember. Is that correct?
I was working with some special needs and a lot more mental health, and I've spent the last couple of years primarily serving mental health populations, and ironically, transitioning back to special needs, so gone the full circle.
So you were teaching autistic kids?
No, right now most of my students are...
4 years ago?
But a mix of autism, but much more
given that I'm
mental
deaf
health.
and blind, I can still remember what someone said to me 4 years ago. Not bad.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
She made quite the impression.
Apparently.
I know, apparently. So actually right now I primarily work with special needs adults and students, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, Rett syndrome, Williams, a few autistic...
So you do musical therapy with people with Down syndrome?
Yeah, so music therapy is using music-based interventions to achieve non-music-based goals. So helping individuals work on things like speech and communication function, fine and gross motor skills by things like instrument playing and singing, songwriting.
So you're teaching people with Down syndrome to play instruments, is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it depends. Right now I primarily serve a lot of group settings, so the opportunity for teaching an actual instrument isn't really present, but we do a lot of percussion playing. So... kind of along those lines. And actually, so right now, all the work I do, I think this is pretty cool, so I'm just going to give it a shout out. But all the work I do is sponsored through the Philharmonic Orchestra here. And so in my sessions every week, they send a string quartet.
Cool.
Yeah, when you saw me 4 years ago, I was the only musician, and now this is really fantastic.
You got the band together.
I do. And I mean, I pick out the repertoire and I send it to them, but it's great because when you're working in a group, if I have 10 students with like varying levels of cognitive functioning, and it's just me, and I have a guitar, that's a lot to manage and kind of assess where they are. But with the string quartet, they're just taking it away. So I can get like eye to eye level or use hand over hand to work on like specific movements and stuff. So it's really cool, and this is all through the orchestra. It's a program they do called Soul Strings. It's in its third year. I helped get it off the ground with them, and that's primarily what I do my work through now.
Why soul strings and not heartstrings, do you think?
Well, there is a heartstrings program.
I knew it.
Yeah, there's a heartstrings program. I think it originated in Wisconsin. And so Amanda Worsland, who's the community outreach director, LPO.
Shout out to Amanda.
Yeah, so Amanda and I have been old friends, and she saw what heartstrings was doing, decided she wanted to bring that to New Orleans and get it running through grants. And we're friends and knew we would work well together, and she recruited me to do the program. So it's soul strings just because heartstrings was taken elsewhere.
Well, I have a question for you about that, actually, and for everybody. That Graham and I were talking about this during the week. Do souls have a gender?
Are
souls
I
male
can't be the
or
end-all,
female?
be-all in this. I don't think we know a lot of things until we're dead. But I would say no. I don't think a soul should have a gender.
You say souls have no gender. So it's neither male or female, your soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think no gender.
You guys? Blaze?
I'm going to have to say I think it's genderless as well.
Genderless?
I think it's fluid. I think it's a fluid gender.
Fluid?
Yeah, like I could come back as a woman.
You probably
maybe you've already been a woman.
Maybe you might already be one.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah, I can see that.
What's that supposed to mean?
Noelle, you can see that with your third eye, that Andrew was a woman? How long ago are we talking about? This morning?
500 years ago. Something like that.
Oh, really? 500?
Have you guys read
that long?
Many Lives, Many Masters book? That was
Yes,
a good one. That was fun.
Brian Weiss.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read that?
Pseudoscience. Yeah.
What's it all about?
Well, it's about a psychologist who talks about dealing with a patient that he does plenty of hypnotherapy with and gets her back into these past lives, and she comes up with a lot of interesting information on where perhaps she gets her issues from in these past lives and what happens, and gets deeper into this in-between space where the thesis of or the title of the book comes from, which is she gets to talking to the masters of, or the god, essentially, the gods, perhaps, or something a little lower than a god, but these masters of this, repetitious life-to-life thing.
Someone who's running the whole show.
Yeah,
or underneath the person.
The psychologist is able to ask these masters, do we go through, how many masters are there, and how many lives do we go through? And she says, the person in hypnotherapy, the patient says, there are many lives and many masters. It's just this interesting cyclical idea.
The theory is that our past lives have influence on our current life.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's adding up to something.
Yeah, it's kind of like there will be consequences for living your life poorly, perhaps unethically, in the next life, and vice versa.
How do they explain then that they're started off with how many people, like a few people in Africa, and now there's 7 billion people in every country in the world?
Grant, ask the masters, dude.
Who would know something? Do you guys know something about that? Noelle, Blaise? No? Where do the souls come from? How are they being replicated? Are they breeding?
No.
Kathryn?
Don't look at me. I'm a lifelong Catholic, so I'm going to go with that
You just
doctrine
that.
And kind of pass on this other
Do you go to Mass regularly?
I do.
You do, every week?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you believe in the whole thing?
Not all of it, but most of it.
You just pick and choose whatever you feel like believing?
No, not necessarily. Well, I think there are definitely some ethics and doctrines in the Catholic Church that are very ethically inappropriate.
Ethically inappropriate.
Yeah,
another good phrase for me to write down, Andrew.
But luckily, even though it's the Catholic term is a universal church, I think every church varies, and the one I go to is fairly liberal, and doesn't things like preach about anti gay marriage and things like that.
So you can have liberal Catholicism.
I'm certainly a liberal Catholic. Yeah, I know. It sounds great. Hey, we drink the most wine, though, of all the Christian religions, so it makes sense that we're the most liberal.
Isn't that the blood of Jesus, though? It's not actually wine, by the way.
See, that's what I don't believe. So
you don't believe
it depends.
That? I thought that was
I
like
have a hard
basic
time believing in the mysticism of
Isn't
this
that
stuff.
A fundamental
yeah.
thing that you have to believe that this is my body and this is my blood?
I know.
So you think it's just
I would say more a cultural Catholicism for me, but I certainly believe in the basic foundations.
Anyway, you go every Sunday to church. That's cool.
I do, yeah. I think. It's not necessarily a religion thing for me. Sometimes it's just having some time to
or dating.
kind of. What?
Sort of a dating thing?
No, God, no. No, sitting there and then having time to really push yourself to think about what is your purpose? What are you doing? How are you morally pushing forward? And I think it's a time that you set out to do that every week, and it helps me, in a very busy day-to-day life to do that.
Is that like meditation?
Yeah, I consider it like a form of meditation for me. everyone has their own way of doing it.
And do you believe there's a God who's running the whole show?
I do.
What about the masters and the lives?
You know, that's where I'm a little less educated. I have to start reading some more, I guess.
I don't know. Be careful. Don't read that book, because if you believe it, you might not be Catholic anymore.
I know. I did spend a couple of months in India one year studying Buddhism,
Did you?
And I certainly found that there's a lot more of, like, in regards to just principles for living your life. I align myself more with than a lot of the Christian religions, but you know, whatever keeps you grounded. And this was something I grew up with, and you know, reminds me of my family and things like that.
What made you go to India in the first place and do that?
I just wanted to do something really different, and I was at Loyola, and it was towards the end of my time there, and had spent a lot of time doing service work throughout school and before school, and just figured it was a good time to go see something, and push myself a little more.
What'd you think?
Oh, I loved it. We spent a lot of time in Delhi, which is like this crazy, overwhelming, beautiful city with crazy smells and people pooping on the street, and I loved it every minute.
You can't.
And then we spent a lot of time in northern India. Yeah. Well, we spent a lot of time in northern India, and it was so peaceful and quiet. And I was like, take me back to Delhi. I want the craziness. I want the people running by you and pushing you out of the way. I don't know. There's so much like vivid life happening that I was really into. But
were you going to go back there?
No, I have other places I want to go next.
What's next?
I'll be going to Peru in April, spending a month there and doing some backpacking.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so anyway, when you were in the social set, weren't you the saxophone player?
Yeah, Sage. Sage Newell. She actually played sax for Johnny Sketch and the Dirty Notes.
I thought you were the saxophone player.
No.
What did you play?
I was a vocalist and guitar player, like I still am. Yeah.
Like you still are.
Yeah.
So you have a guitar here.
I do.
So why don't we haul that out?
Okay.
Before Christian Unruh jumps all over me and says that I didn't invite you to play early enough in the show. So, okay, go get that.
Sorry.
And then, shall I ask Noelle one question from this in the meantime? Oh, no,
yes.
I'll come back.
No, she's ready. She's ready.
Okay, all right. We'll come back to that in a minute. Okay. So now you play by yourself, or you have your own thing. You don't play with social set anymore.
Yeah. Well,
You still have to talk into that mic.
The long and short of that is I got kind of burned out. Being a band leader is fun, but chaotic, and found I got wrapped up in a lot of the things of the aspect of managing a band, like promotion and press and booking, and stopped writing as much. So took some time away from that, but realized I couldn't keep music out forever. So I've been doing solo stuff for nearly a year now. I mean, I still play. I have another guitar player who plays along with me a couple times.
Right. And does anyone ever tell you sound like Joni Mitchell?
God, all the time.
All the time.
But it's just crazy to me because I didn't grow up listening to anything close to that. I grew up listening to Shaka Khan and Brandy and Lauryn Hill and like Patti LaBelle. I didn't listen to Joni Mitchell until I was like 21, and people would be like, "You sound just like her." I'm like, "Who is this?" So it's just funny. I get it a lot, but I have that's something where like I feel a lot of female singer-songwriters get that. If they have much of a range and they go between the range, yeah.
I don't know.
I'll be the judge of this. Let's do this.
Yeah, do you think... Well, I've talked to more than a few... Now that I run this Songwriter Series, and I've had quite a few female
You run a Songwriter
songwriters.
Series?
Yeah, I do.
Where?
At the International House Hotel on Thursday nights. But it's all female-focused.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
So,
Andrew was a woman in a past
by.
life, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, so... but I've been doing this for 7 months now, and I've had quite a few girls also say the same thing. People say, "Oh, that you sound just like Joni Mitchell." And they're like, "Why? We all sound so different," and I kind of agree with them. I don't know if it's just a common comparison with female singers.
I can't wait to burn you down on that comment then, Grant. I can't wait.
Okay.
But maybe you do. I don't know. I'll give you my honest opinion.
I've heard hundreds of female singer-songwriters that don't sound like Joni Mitchell. When I listen to you, I'm like, wow, it's uncanny.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I would not say
No,
that's
it's not an insult by any means.
No,
I don't mean it as
no.
an insult. It's just shocking every time someone says that. I'm like,
but it's also the
how?
perceptiveness of the lyrics and the subject matter and the whole...
Yeah, writing
whole
style
thing.
plays a part in that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So let's take... What are you going to play?
Yeah, well, I'm going to get a little more comfortable first, so that's all right.
Look at the name of your guitar, would you?
This is actually not mine. I am ashamed to say I do not own an acoustic guitar. I own multiple semi-hollow electrics. But
yeah, you look good with that big electric guitar. That looks cool.
Thanks.
I thought you were going to bring that today.
Well, I was told to come and play acoustic, so I do what I'm told.
Yeah, okay. So who did you borrow this off
This is from my other guitar player who plays with me. His name is Steve Panicek. Y'all might he came on this years ago with the Fake Carls back in the day, but he runs sound at Tipitina's and runs sound a couple other venues around the city. Great slide guitar player.
What's the name of that stone? Shattucktite. And what's the name of a guitar? Oh, nothing
not
like
even
that.
Close.
No, okay.
A Takamine? Yeah.
Pretty close.
Well, I'm going to take my headphone off so I can hear this. This one's called Lullaby to Preston, and I'm not going to give you the background yet. I'm just going to go ahead and play it.
All right.
So. You want a lullaby, but you cannot sing. Though you try, you don't feel a thing. Troubled, unable to soothe your tired eyes and your weary mood. I never knew this fragile side of you. And I love you, do you know? When you're breaking, slipping low, filled with doubt, lost and angry, I hope you find the peace that you need. Frustrated, you're dying to prove yourself to those who don't value you. Come on, lay down your broken back. It's time that you finally relax. Let me pick up your slack. And I love you, do you know? When you're slipping, desperate to grow, words won't come to say what you need. I hope you find some peace in me. You've been trapped and tortured so, and it's not fair to you to hold on to the demons clutching you. I had to stand by you if you want me to. I love you, do you know? As I'm screaming, please don't go, please don't go. What did I miss? I'm so angry. If you found your peace, could you send some to me? I pray you found the peace that you need. So Johnny Mitchell.
Kathryn Rose Wood. Kathryn, before we go any further, where can we get that? Anywhere on the internet?
Yeah, actually, what? I'm sorry.
I think you do sound like Joni Mitchell a little bit, not so much in timbre as in like useful phrasing.
Yeah,
This is Asher Griffith. He's a music student. No, graduate.
Cool.
Not even a student.
It's true.
So he agrees with me about that.
That song, it's called Lullaby to Preston. It is on iTunes as a standalone single. There's a YouTube video for it. It was featured on American Songwriter magazine earlier this year on their website. So you can definitely find it around. And
American Songwriter magazine chose you to talk about.
Yeah, it was a daily discovery. It's like the song of the day to listen to or something. It doesn't mean
Well,
as much as it
congratulations on
sounds
that.
like
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Thanks.
Of all the songs that are written every day in America. Andrew,
That's a big deal.
That's it is.
There's a lot of shitty songs out there, and that's not one of them, you know?
Right, exactly. Well put.
Well, thank you.
What did you think, Andrew?
I thought it was great. I think I recognize what you're saying, you know, about the element of melodic sensibility sometimes, but you don't totally sound like Joni Mitchell, so don't let it faze you.
I really am not offended. I'm just always like, where does this come from?
Definitely, like, you know, your thoughts of the R&B or soul nature of the people that you mentioned. That comes through for sure in that tune, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
What'd you guys think, Blaze?
No, I thought she caught me rocking and smiled at me midway through.
Nice.
Yeah, it was satisfying. I liked it. It's definitely
you.
soulful.
No,
it definitely has a lot
liked
of
it
soul
too.
in it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought it was beautiful. I love your voice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it's very
it.
beautiful.
That's a tough thing to do, to sit at a table this close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stare across the table at people you don't know and
Right.
have to play like that.
Well,
That's a pretty
you
personal.
know, but if you're a giggy musician, that's like
That's
That's
what you
what
do.
you
pretty
do.
normal habit.
That's what you
Yeah.
do. People are staring,
Hope
have
for the best.
expectations.
Mid-set, realize this
It's
is
like I
not
paid
working.
money.
change
We're
it
all
up.
looking at you
I
thinking
paid
Joni
money for this. This
Mitchell.
better be good.
And it's a pretty personal song, too, to play.
Yeah. So I'm here to talk about this Songwriter Series, but this kind of works in that vein. So, because for so long with Social Set, and I played with another band that's like rock and blues. It was all about what music gets people moving and, you know, getting on the dance floor and buying more drinks and stuff like that. But that's not really like where the core of my songwriting comes from. I'm a musician because I feel like that's the best way I communicate. So I got into music therapy, and I want to make connections with people. So there's a lot more intimate songwriting that I do that I wasn't finding like the right vehicle for. And then I lost a brother to suicide last year, and kind of took a break from things and definitely changed my purpose for myself with music. And this song is kind of my letter to him. And it also, in the same way, brought around the Songwriter Series, because when I released this, it was kind of a one-off project, but the idea of, I know that there are other people who need to hear these words, because there are a lot of people who can't reach out and say for themselves, like, I just need to know that there's someone else like me that feels like this. You know, and I had some folks reach out, and which is great, you know, the power of social media and the internet, people reaching out and saying, this helped me realize, like, if I really take my life, there are other people who are going to suffer severe repercussions too, and I need to do something about this.
Wow, and your song got that message across.
Yeah. So, and then the hotel happened. One of the girls who I know who works at the hotel found the song, and we're like, we've been having songwriters, you know, every week, but it's just a kind of come in and play for a couple hours, and we really want to make this more of an intimate, kind of like VH1 unplugged style thing. Totally focus on female songwriters and let them be in this element of like a stripped down environment where they can express these, like, I could play this kind of music to a crowd that wants to hear it, not a bar that's like, oh, shut up, where's my beer drink? You know, like, I want to, you know, get drunk and have a good time.
It is actually in a bar, though, right?
It is a bar, yeah. It's a very intimate space, small, very bohemian. The owner of the hotel is very big into all, like, the Laurel Canyon songwriting, and wants to make that a focus. So,
And just tell us where it is again.
yeah, it's at the Loa Bar in the International House Hotel, and that's at 221 Camp Street. So just a block off of Canal going towards the CBD. And that's every Thursday from 8 to 10. I host it and play songs like this and other, you know, more kind of introspective
It's all
tunes.
female singer-songwriters, but anybody can go, obviously.
Yeah, and every week I have a new guest, always female. We've had an occasional male, but, you know, just work better going with all female.
Is it a good place for guys to meet women?
You know, I think so, because there's a lot of girls who come to, like,
That's what
relish
I'm
in the
thinking.
evening. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And they're all sensitive and
Exactly. Yeah.
Drunk?
It's not a bad spot. Yeah.
sensitive and drunk is a good
And the drinks are strong and delicious,
Right
so
on.
I guess that kind of helps in that vibe. It's a very romantic setting, so low lights.
Okay.
Plush sofas. I guess you could.
Sounds pretty
meet
nice.
a lady there if you
And
want.
it's Thursday night.
Thursday night, and it's free. So
And it's free as well.
Yeah, and I have a new guest every week. So
Right.
tomorrow
Okay.
I have Ruby Rendrag from Music Shed Studios, who's a GM over there, and she has her own band. She's playing. Next week we'll have Darcy Malone. We've got Angelica Joseph from Taking the Bangles the week after that. So we have a stacked lineup. Yeah, I
That
can't
is
wait.
really great.
Yeah.
Man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
And they play different stuff. They play their own stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Everyone's
a lot of
playing
people,
stuff that's personal to them rather than
exactly
stuff they're playing
personal
with
to
their band.
them. Things that are
That's a
songs
great
they don't
idea.
get to play often.
Yeah.
Maybe it's stuff that their bands are like, I don't want to do this, and then this is their opportunity
Right.
to do something different.
How
And then
cool.
we play a set together. So they'll come to me and give me like 5 or 6 songs, and we'll restructure them as duets and play them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, can you play something sort of bland?
Bland?
Yeah.
Background music.
Some sort of bland background music for me to read these commercials over.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You just want me to like pick
yeah.
something?
Yeah,
Okay.
just come up with some sort of, I don't know, some jazzy sounding. That's good, right?
Is that good? Do you want it slower, quieter?
No, that's fine. What do you think, Andrew? That's what we're looking for?
That's kind of Macy's. I'm thinking more Sears. Can you do Sears?
You're out of here. Okay. This won't take long. There's only 2 of these to read. Thank you very much to Basics Swim and Gym. We can get a full range of fashion swimsuits, workout, and yoga clothes. Hey, Blaze.
Kemetic Yoga.
Kemetic
Look it
Yoga.
up.
You can get those. They all come with style, actually. You can get a bikini, a one-piece, a cover-up. In fact, everything you need for the beach or pool is at Basics Swim and Gym. It's right next to the lingerie store, Basics underneath, on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. Thanks to the guys at Hangover Destroyer, which is the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. Have you heard about that?
I have not.
Check it out. You go to the Hangover Destroyer website. It's called hdestroyer.com. If you write Happy Hour on the coupon code, they'll give you 30% off of your first order of Hangover Destroyer. So you two can seize the dawn. How about that, Noelle?
Sounds great.
I wish I would have heard of that last night.
What were you doing last night, Blaze? Thanks, that's the end of
I
it.
won't.
Catherine.
I won't
Catherine
talk,
Rose
I don't
Wood.
want to talk about it.
You want to talk
I don't
about
want
it?
to talk about it.
We'll have another drink and then we'll talk about it.
Maybe.
Who were you with? Anyone exciting?
No, random people. I just met them at the bar.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like today all over
Exactly.
again.
Yeah.
It was a warm-up.
That's my everyday.
Is it? Do you
Yeah.
spend a lot of time in bars chatting
I
to
actually
people
work
you
at a
don't
bar.
know? What's that?
I actually bartend.
Oh, you're a bartender.
So
that would
I spend a lot of time
a
at
lot of
bars.
stuff. And you're a
Yeah.
bartender who gets drunk with the customers?
No, absolutely not.
That
no,
never happens.
absolutely not. We're not allowed to do that at all. This was I was off yesterday, so I went to
So
a
your day
bar.
off, you go to another bar. Well, you
Yes.
must like alcohol.
Well, I mean, they have sangria specials on Tuesdays, so I went over there for a sangria special.
Okay. And you like sangria, obviously.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do you bartend? Where can we go meet you?
Ace Hotel.
At the Ace. So you're hip as well.
I like to think I'm hip.
You must be because they only hire hipsters there, right? Hello.
I'm cool enough to be cool, but uncool to be a hipster. I'm not that cool.
Now we've really gone down.
I'm not that
Cool
cool.
enough to be cool, but not hip enough to be hip.
Exactly. I'm not that cool. I'm not intentionally cool. It just happens.
Well, that's the best type of cool, right?
Exactly.
You're
That's why
so
I'm not
cool.
a hipster.
You're so cool. You're not a hipster. I see
'Cause-
hipster as trying to.
Trying to be cool.
Right.
I
right.
never knew. I never
Right.
realized that distinction.
Hipsters take it from the fast lane to the bike lane, and you got to stay in the fast lane. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah. I'm
Wow.
Just
Another
ripping
good
it.
one.
Just ripping it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you just make that up?
I think he
Yeah,
did.
just-
I've never.
That's how we do it on
kinda
the
bullshit,
on the
yeah.
Warlock podcast.
Okay. All right.
Just waxing alcoholic here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Talking of waxing,
Yeah, that's
what,
right.
what about that?
What a great segue.
European wax.
I feel like we should.
They should be
It
the
should be a
next
sponsor.
Yeah.
For sure.
Brought to you
Yeah,
by the
sponsor.
European.
Yeah.
Listen, if Basics underneath lingerie store and swimming gym can be,
We're looking pretty good.
That's
They
What
go
about-
hand in hand.
they do,
you
don't
need
they?
to visit
Not
that
sure
place
if hand in hand are the words I would use, but
while
certainly
you're
some
getting
organ.
your bikini.
Can I just say this is the first show we've ever had, which is all women, guests today. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
First time I
That
know
is a
of. Is
first.
that
Yeah,
right?
I was
Is this the
coming.
first one ever?
I wouldn't know.
I think it is. I
I'd
mean,
have to look that up.
you've been here longer than I have.
I'd have
right?
to go through the records.
Yeah.
Listen here, this is the Instagram post that that you posted, Noelle.
Yes.
It says, "Hey, you all, I'll be one of the guests on the It's New Orleans radio show tonight. tune in. Well, it's not really radio, but I guess close enough. Tune in live on the It's New Orleans Facebook stream or listen in later on the podcast. I'm not sure what they're going to ask me. It could be about. So I thought, I'm going to read this list of the things that you thought we might be talking about.
Yeah.
And then everybody can vote. We can pick one.
Yeah, it sounds great. I like this. Yeah.
What about this? It could be about infinite... I'll just go through them all, and then we'll get... There's not that many. There's quite a few. Infinite possibilities, energy work, Eastern medicine, love-based medicine, healing, my eating disorder, meditation, needleless acupuncture. There's really good ones. Working next to witches, we talked about those.
Should we put them all in a hat?
We talked about that, Amina and Amberley, right?
Yeah.
Raw Republic, we touched on that as well with the Jewish thing. Shamans. Listen to how many there are. Hawaii, Qigong, which I don't know what Qigong is. Do you know what that is, anyone?
Energy work. That's
Blaze knows that.
Yeah,
Move on
energy. No, it's just energy work. It's Eastern medicine.
Okay.
Energy work. Healing.
Or why I was destined for New Orleans.
Close.
Who knows?
Yeah,
it's going to be
related.
fun. Okay, so you're off about that fun aspect. But other than that, so which one of these things do you think would be good to talk about, Kathryn?
I'm interested about the non-needle acupuncture. I want to know what that entails.
Non-needle acupuncture. Okay, Blaze, do you have any requests?
Let's talk more about the Qigong.
You want Qigong? Okay, so that's 1, needleless acupuncture, 2, Qigong. Andrew, do you have anything?
I did actually. I was thinking needleless acupuncture.
So you're on that as well. I'm interested in my eating disorder.
I knew he was going to pick that one. Go to the dark place.
I'm not going to make you talk about it first, but I'm fascinated why, of all these sort of interesting things, you would then make it so personal. My eating disorder is so different from all the other ones. Blaze, did you know that? You know I was going to say that because of the third eye aspect?
No, because you like to ask people the difficult questions.
Ah, okay. So you think my eating disorders... Okay, so anyway, let's go back to number 1, needleless acupuncture.
Okay.
What would that be?
So, I was trained in something called Shakuju therapy.
Shakuju, right? That next to
Shakuju.
Yeah.
Mushroom crystal.
Is that like
You're right, that's very similar.
Is that
that's
like
hilarious.
Shakuju? As in a Jewish person?
Everybody
Or
says that. It's a Japanese
Shakuju.
name. It's SHAKUJU. Shakuju.
Shakuju.
Yeah, so shaku is a term that relates to like a pain or tender spot. So shakuju is it's basically, so all of this is in the realm of working with the body as a system that conducts energy. So I can use acupuncture needles as a way to create balance in your body and balance energy in your body. People can do it without, like Reiki is something, an energy work that Sheena and Amberley are done without even touching your body. And then Shakuju is sort of this weird in between where I'm using a tool called a Shakuju needle or something called a Taishin. It's Japanese.
What does a Shakuju needle look like?
It looks like an actual needle. So if you go to my Instagram, I actually posted one today. I was at work earlier today.
Like a needle you would sew with, or
no, it looks like an acupuncture needle. So it has a little handle, and then it's made of stainless steel.
Right.
And if you just look at it, it looks like it will puncture you. But if I were to touch you, I should have brought one. Crap. Well, if I were to touch you, it would never go in. It never goes past the surface layer of the skin.
So it's not actually needleless then?
Yes, it's a misnomer. I guess it should be called punctureless, right? But they refer to, that's sort of how they refer to it. But it meaning like you won't be feeling a needle going into you, in other words.
Is
it's
it
a tool.
less effective?
Raises the skin?
No, it's not less. It's different. So acupuncture core therapy is another way that you could call it, another term that they use for this type of treatment. And so basically it's more restorative. It's working with the core of your body. So if you think about energy and the way it flows, or even if you don't think about energy but just think about the most important part of your body being in the core, right? Like all of our major organs are here in the core, and then the farther away from that we go, it's less important. Like you could get your arm cut off, but you can't really be severed in half. All the important stuff is in the core. So Shakuju works with the core of your body.
It's like Pilates.
But in terms of, so here, let me just break it down to what a treatment would be like. So you would come in, it's really restorative. So if you're depleted, if you're recovering from something, if you're very
hungover.
If you're hungover, yeah, sure. It would be really good for you. So you would come in, and I would do some diagnostics. So I would palpate on your belly for some tender spots. So I learned from this Japanese Sensei Kobayashi. Sensei Kobayashi says that any tender spots in the body is a sign of deficiency. So it's your body, like, there's something wrong. So I would check for tender spots. You would be like, ow, this is tender. And then I would use the Shakuju needle or a Taishin. A Taishin is definitely not a needle. It's thick. It's made of silver, copper, or gold. These are basically tools used to conduct energy. And I'm using my consciousness to do it. So it's very...
Okay.
It's a different... So acupuncture...
So it's the definition of touchy-feely.
Touchy-feely, and we're connecting... So it's a very intimate process where you're telling me what you feel, and you're telling me how it's changing as the treatment's going on. So we'll do a little bit of contact needling on your belly to see if those tender spots change, and then I'll check for some other tender spots, and then we'll use we'll do a lot of work on your spine, because all of the major organ systems are innervated.
How much time am I putting aside for this?
It's an hour. A treatment is an hour.
Well, I could do that, right?
Yeah. It's great. Shakuju is so great. I use something called moxa, which is an herb. Well, moxibustion is the process of burning the herb. We say moxa for short. It's called Artemis mugwort. I wish I would have brought... These things are so weird. I really need to bring them with me, because you're all looking at me like, what the hell? So it's like a little herb it's loose, and I form it into a little tiny pyramid, and I'll put it on top of some tender spots along your spine to sort of increase the energy flow along those areas. And you leave a Shakuju treatment and you should feel much more integrated, much more like yourself, stronger.
After one treatment?
Yes, after one treatment. I mean, some things, the longer you've been dealing with something, typically the more chronic something is, because this is subtle work, it takes longer for it to actually heal. Like, I'm not fixing anything, I'm helping your body do the healing itself. It's a different way of looking at how it happens. How
much is it for an hour?
A Shakuju treatment at Raw Republic it's $125 for the first session, and then it's $115 after that.
That's not bad.
Sounds about right, doesn't it? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does that answer your question, Kathryn, about needleless
that
acupuncture?
Was very informative.
That was a very good
I feel like I have a pretty clear picture of what exactly
it is.
That's exactly what I thought it was.
Oh, good. Great.
Huh.
Yeah.
I was looking at your faces, and I was like, "Oh gosh."
Really? It's a tough audience.
It's something that I feel I'm so used to doing it that when I'm explaining it, I want to make sure that it's making sense to someone who's never seen this kind of stuff before. Sense. It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird way of...
Okay, so now number 2, Blaze requests Qigong, which is spelled Qigong.
Qi is energy, right? So there's Tai Chi, which is you've seen Tai Chi before, right? Have you guys seen Tai Chi? So Tai Chi is moving slowly and using your energy force to fight someone, right? So it's using energy in order to interact with someone in a martial arts way. Qigong is
it fighting? I thought that was like meditation or exercise.
It is a meditational exercise, but I think that the origination, as far as what I was taught, is that it's a way to combat somebody. That's what I was taught.
Okay.
And then Qigong is more about cultivating your own energy and directing. So it's not outside. It's not working with anything outside of you. It's cultivating the energy in you. So your chi. Right.
But what does the word gong mean?
Study of.
Or
so cultivation of.
The cultivation of energy.
Right, exactly.
So what
cultivation.
So is Qigong something that you do?
It is.
You perform that on people?
I am a Qigong teacher.
You learn how to... Oh, you learn how to cultivate your own chi. So you teach people how to do that.
Yes, exactly.
And that's something you can do, Blaze, as well?
No, it's not something that I can do, but it's something I'm interested in. I'm interested in Eastern medicine and Tai Chi, Qigong,
you've come to
Buddhism. So I did my first Zen Buddhist sitting recently, which was pretty intense, but definitely worth it.
What is that meditation all as well, or is it chanting?
So we don't really chant until afterwards. So it's mostly sitting, and you work on your posture, your breath, and your mind. That so that's the foundational principles of Buddhism or Zen Buddhism is posture, breath, and attitude of mind. So you focus, you stare at a wall at a 45-degree angle, and try not to fall asleep. Your legs are burning after about 30 minutes. Your legs are burning. You wonder if you even have legs.
Right.
And you do it twice. We do it twice. And so
in the same thing, you do 2 separate hours.
We do sittings. We do 2 half-hour sittings of it. Yeah. And there's a series of bows and prostrations that go along with it afterwards as well. So
there's a lot of things that like yoga and things that we're calling Eastern medicine that have elements of meditative nature, and when we're saying that can be restorative, which I think most people would buy. Mm-hmm. But when we say medicine, and I think acupuncture would be an excellent example of something that's being used to target a specific ailment. Now we're talking about medical elements. How interested is the acupuncture field in conducting blind studies where we actually do find out whether this stuff is medically apt or not?
So you're asking me to represent the entire acupuncture field?
No, I guess you're in it.
But
I can tell you.
But I'm also a little bit of a anomaly in the sense that Shakuju is very much more energy work than something like Western medicine.
So do you guys as salespeople say, if you have something, everybody has a business. Everybody has a business. That's what I mean. I don't mean that you're. I'm a salesperson for my music.
Sure.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
But I guess what I'm asking is would you advertise as if something is ailing you, come in and we'll make it feel better?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So this actually ties into what love-based medicine is about, and it sounds cheesy.
Full circle.
This is
it's
beautiful the way this happened.
So let's wrap it up with that. Okay.
But really,
love-based medicine.
What I was taught and what I've seen in myself and in clients is that when you're developing a symptom, it's actually a blessing, right? Your symptoms are not something to fear, to try to put a Band-Aid on, to try to take a drug for, to try to get surgery. I mean, certainly there are times where that's merited or warranted, but it's honoring the fact that when you have a symptom, it's a beautiful thing. It's your body trying to correct itself. It's saying something is wrong. Mm-hmm. Let's figure out what that is.
Right.
So not to address symptoms from a place of fear, right, where it's like, oh my God, I have this thing. Something's wrong with me. I have this label. I must have this disease. And, like something's wrong with my body. It's a paradigm shift to actually love your body for doing what it does. Thank God that you're developing this cold instead of something going deeper. Mm-hmm. Or this allergy might be telling you that there's something wrong with the lining of your stomach or whatever. There's so many different ways of looking. Maybe it's just stress induced. Maybe you need to get out of that situation that you're in. So it's like positive, not making your body wrong.
It's positive to be sick, or you're talking about acknowledging the fact that it's natural. And not to fight it, but to go with it.
I actually would think it's actually positive. It's
your
positive. Body.
It's
positive. Like, so imagine your car with the warning light, the check engine light going off. Would you say that's positive or negative?
Negative.
Well, but imagine. So it's like the check engine light going off, and then you're like, oh, that's bad. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it. But you never look under the hood and say, like, what's wrong?
To get a warning.
Absolutely, it's good. Those signals are beautiful.
It's okay when you're talking about a cold, say.
Yeah.
Or the flu.
Sure.
Well, but if we're talking about stress and we're talking about acupuncture as the cure, maybe that's not the case. Maybe therapy would be better than acupuncture, depending on what's the stressor, right?
Well, what about
sure.
What about your?
I can tell. So right. Oh wow. I feel like I'm taking a lot of time.
It is a therapy.
I'll tell you. Yeah, acupuncture is absolutely a therapy. I can tell you that I had an eating disorder for many years. I went through the traditional route of trying to, I got therapy. I was in like a facility at one point. I did everything. They put me on antidepressants and everything just sort of, nothing changed really for me. It numbed me a little bit, but nothing changed until I started actually, acupuncture for me was sort of a reconnection to...
Hang on, wait. Are you saying acupuncture cured your eating disorder?
It was one of the several things that did, yes.
What were the other things?
So acupuncture created a gateway. It cleared out, it created a space where I was more in tune with myself and my body. And then other things that, it was a lot of affirmations. It sounds cheesy, but those things work. It's amazing.
No, if you've got a cure for eating disorder, that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, the cure, honestly, is self-love. It's love. It's like getting rid, understanding
generally a lot
how
of stuff.
Wonderful we really are and how wonderful life really is. It wasn't until I started focusing on that. The more I focused on the eating disorder and trying to figure out how to, it's your energy flows where your focus goes. So the more I was focused on that and trying to fix it and trying to find out why and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so just stop for a sec.
Nothing
how
changed
did you have
until I
this
started.
epiphany? What changed you? Was it a moment?
So it was... was it a moment? No, it wasn't a moment. It was gradual. It was. So I think acupuncture for me cleared some things out of the way. I do a lot of clearing with acupuncture, actually. As crazy as it sounds, that's the one thing I hear most from people is like, oh my God, I feel like myself again. Oh my God. And then, so once you get to that place, it's amazing because then you start to pay attention to shit that you were numbing before or you were ignoring before. Okay. So that was like the gateway. And then from there, I started actually honoring and caring about what I was doing and who I was surrounding myself with and what I was watching and, made little baby steps into like, okay, maybe I don't have to like binge on this thing and maybe I can actually sit and meditate for an hour. So it was like meditation really helped me a lot too. I mean, it was basically just saying I had enough. Body work for me was a way for me to get back into my body and then doing a lot of, coming back to loving myself.
Well, if someone is listening to this
that hasn't... Not labeling myself. I remember people telling me that much like any kind of addiction, like an alcoholic, they'll say, once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. And they would say the same shit to me about bulimia. Most of my eating disorder was bulimia. And I remember thinking at one point, I couldn't even imagine eating normally. People would talk to me about that. And they would say, yep, once you have an eating disorder, you'll always struggle with it. It's always going to be a thing. And I thought that was true. And I can tell you that is bullshit.
Okay.
It's such bullshit. It's such bullshit.
So you can leave the whole thing behind.
You can leave the whole thing behind, but not if you allow yourself to focus on that. What you need to do, or at least in my experience, is to understand the power that we have as creators of our lives, which is infinite possibilities, right? So whatever you focus on will be your life experience. So I just stopped focusing on that and I started focusing on love, on loving myself, on loving, just experiencing life, going out in nature and listening to myself.
Were you a spiritual person before that, or did someone lead you to this, or how did you get to that point?
I think I've probably always been spiritual in some way. I've never been specifically religious. Right. I was dabbling in Catholicism for a while, and I would say I probably always had a very strong spiritual sense about me.
So if I have an eating disorder, I'm listening to this conversation, yes. What would be the one thing that I would do first then if I wanted to do something about it?
The first thing...
Then you're off the hook.
Right. If you're just listening to this and you want to take one step, is just to forgive yourself and forgive everyone else around you.
Okay.
That would be the first step. I mean, there are many other steps, seek out help, but truly just forgive yourself. Just
but
forgiveness.
If the help isn't working, which it doesn't for a lot of people...
Come see me.
Would you recommend acupuncture then to try that?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be acupuncture. Of course, that was something that helped me greatly. But any kind of anything that gets you connected to your body and helps to clear away all the rigid, whatever it is that you're dealing with. Right. You just want to come back to a place. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to really say. I'm much more of I have to see an individual to... I don't like to make general statements about things because I think each person is special and each case is unique. But I think the main thing is, yes, forgive yourself and listen to what you really want, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Great.
But the general statement is love-based medicine.
Yes. So if you're having an eating disorder, it's probably because something is wrong. For me, I had so much shame. Shame, yeah. Shame, it was a family thing. it was passed down, without getting into too much detail. But I think that was it. It was like shame and guilt from years ago.
We have to get out of here, actually.
Yeah,
but who should we blame in your family just before we leave?
Nobody.
Can we blame your dad or your mom or some uncle?
No. Well, no. No, it was just.
Wasn't the uncle
It's never really anybody's. It's never really anybody's. In my opinion, it's never really anybody's fault. I feel like we're all each other's teachers. You know, like everybody's.
You've really turned things around, so you
dealing
look at the positive side of everything.
Well, yeah.
It's because of the Shattucktite. That's done it for you. Is that what is it supposed to do? That stone?
We looked it up. Didn't you write it down?
Yeah, but what? No, I just wrote the spelling. What is it supposed to do?
I think it was supposed to help with communication.
I think Blaze knows something.
Throat chakra.
And what was the other one you were wearing that does
Labradorite.
And what does that do?
It's a magical stone.
That's the magic right there. Okay, well, that's the end of the Warlock podcast, I believe. It's our first ever Warlock podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you feel about being a warlock?
Basic warlocks.
I feel good.
Basic warlocks.
Yeah.
I have to write that one down as well.
Yeah.
This has been a pretty fun show, I'd say. I think we could go for another hour, actually, but we do have to get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Maybe we should all come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is everybody free some other time?
I'll be free some other time.
I feel like Blaze didn't talk enough. I feel.
Really?
Yeah.
Think Blaze was too quiet?
I think Blaze has a lot of secrets.
Really?
I just wasn't asking many questions.
Oh.
That's really what it was.
Do you think with the... Is that your sense that Blaze has got more to say?
Yes, for sure.
There's a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
That's the trouble with this happy hour. It
Things are
is only
happening.
an hour. It's tough.
It's real.
Well, Blaze, you want to come back?
Sure, I'll come back.
All right.
I'll come back.
Okay, what do you want to talk about?
Well, we can talk about what I do. I'm a photographer, so
We
can
didn't
talk
even talk about that at all.
We didn't talk about that at all.
Didn't even mention the word photographer.
You mentioned it briefly
At
as
the
you were
beginning,
reading
I was talking about when we
my
went to school
biography.
together at Edna Carr.
Exactly.
We did. You were always a photographer and a digital something or other.
or something or another. Yeah, media,
Right, but somehow we
media
didn't
maker.
get onto photography.
We didn't talk about it.
That's weird.
It's strange.
We talked a lot about evolution
We
and
talked about-
adaptation, which
yeah,
I think got
exactly.
us off track.
Off track.
Yeah, that messed up the whole
I know.
photography.
I know.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that next time. All
Okay.
right. Okay, that's a promise.
Okay.
Okay.
We could talk about Kemetic Yoga too.
Kemetic Yoga. Well, we talked about that a little bit, but
I don't think
we didn't get far enough.
We didn't get far enough. You still
Okay.
don't know what it is.
It's African yoga.
Uh,
Is
found
your
out-
photography
Based on
online?
positions in
Can
the
we
hieroglyphs.
find
Are
out
there
more about you
photos of
online?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
let's find out where we can find your photography since we didn't talk about
Okay,
it.
yeah. So, Blaze Like Fire, FYRE.com. That's
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook, all the things.
Cool.
So, yeah. Maybe
And-
we'll come back before my exhibit, maybe.
When's your
Yes,
exhibit?
when's your exhibit?
It's in March.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
come back.
Well, Graham
Okay.
DePonte is in charge of the whole
Okay,
thing.
yeah,
But if you
absolutely.
listen to this and you want to find out more about any of this stuff, go to our website, itsneworleans.com, and look for this show. I think it's probably going to be called Shattucktite
Shiitake mushroom.
Shakuju.
Warlock
It's
gemstone.
got to be called that. Anyway, if you search for anybody's
Joni
name
Mitchell.
on Joni Mitchell,
Joni Mitchell.
if you just search for anyone's name, once you get to itsneworleans.com and look, find Happy Hour and search for any of our names, you'll find Blaze Like Fire,
Yeah.
Noell Eanes, Love Eanes, that is, and Kathryn Rose Wood. Thank you so much for joining us,
thanks for
everybody.
having us.
Thank
That's Happy Hour for another week. Join us back here on the Warlock Hour. 1 week from today. Our show is
That was a
produced
good sound.
by Graham DePonte. Who did that, actually? Nice. Our
Yeah,
music director
I'll
is
be here
Christian
every week.
Unruh, and Jean Valois is our music producer. Thomas Walsh is our technical director, and our live feed directors, if you're watching this on Facebook Live or you'd like to go watch it on Facebook Live, were Asher Griffith and Grayson Jernigan. Our theme music was written by and is currently being played by Mitchell Foreman. If you'd like to be on our show and you can sit around a table for about an hour and stay upright, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, itsneworleans.com. We can also check out many other hours of Happy Hour that reside there for you to listen to, as well as some other shows that we make here. Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace. True to the Game with Chris True. Midnight Menu with Margot Moss. And The Man Who Ate New Orleans, Ray Canada. Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tooker. Milo's Music Parlor with Kim Vu. The podcast about death, called Death the Podcast, with psychologist Dr. Arian Alfant. Questions from the Waiting Room with psychiatrist Nick Pajic. You can also find other great Louisiana podcasts at itsacadiana.com and itsbatonrouge.la. You can keep up with us on Facebook and on Twitter and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. On all of it, we're called It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on our Facebook page. Those photos were taken today by Sam Weil. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, thanks for subscribing to us. Take a moment, if you've got one, to rate and review us. That helps other people find us. Our show was recorded live today at the fabulous Wayfare on Ferret Street in Uptown New Orleans, where they have a 3-hour happy hour here every day and an awesome brunch on the weekends. Happy Hour is a production of I Know Broadcasting. For itsneworleans.com, for my co-warlock, Andrew Duhon, I'm Grant Morris. Thank you so much for joining us, and on behalf of everyone around here at the table at Wayfare and back at our office at I Know Broadcasting, we'll see you back here next week on Happy Hour.
Let's be honest, there are tons of ways to send money back home, and every company promises me the same things: good rates and safe transfers. That's why it can be overwhelming to choose a new way to send money. I switched to Remitly because I can track my money every step of the way, which means I know exactly when my mom will get her money. And with their extensive payment network, my mom can receive her money in a way that is more convenient and safe for her. You should check it out. Go to Remitly.com or download their app to get started. Remitly Inc. is a licensed money transmitter by the state of New York, California, Massachusetts, and other states.